we're live. Hi, everyone. We'll just wait for everyone to join in a couple of minutes. Please drop in the chat from which place you are in so that Elias can say hi to you all. I can see Germany, Canada, India. Great. Brazil. Awesome. We're able to see folks from around the globe join in. Please use the emoji icon to show your love to our speaker as we wait for the session to start. Awesome. Great, I'll just get started. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic time at TestMu conference. I'm Kavya, and I'm thrilled to introduce a session that will definitely spark some exciting conversations. Today, we are diving into the topic of managing testing data. Through this session, you will learn how to manage testing data better, find bugs faster, and use data-driven testing in different ways using JUnit 5. Our speaker, Elias Nogueira, is a senior principal software engineer at Backbase who specializes in quality engineering for backend, frontend, and mobile. Elias loves sharing knowledge through his blog. He writes articles and gives talks across the globe. He brings an immense experience in quality engineering and is a Java champion, Oracle CE for Java, and Java Magazine and editor. So let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Elias. Elias, over to you.
Yay! Thank you, guys. I will use the emojis as well, like yay, yay, yay.
Absolutely.
Nice. So, of course, in the first minute is basically I'm sharing my screen. I will ask, are you guys seeing my screen? And then we will basically start it. So let's start with the, so I'm adding another screen on my side to see, yeah, I can see myself. Unfortunately, I can see myself and I can see my screen. Perfect. So first of all, guys, welcome. Thank you a lot for being here with me, learning this subject. I know that subject is really broad. I will share my knowledge about like some tips about how to manage and test data. During this presentation, I will show some slides to just show some concepts and tell you how we do one or two things. And then I will jump into the code and I will start encoding to show that proof that it works. And you guys can see more or less live how it works. Okay. If you guys have any questions, please start writing in the chat. I will give the full presentation at once. And then when I finish, I will start answer your questions, okay? So, we already have the introduction, but just in a short time, I'm Elias Nogueira. I'm from Brazil. I work as a software engineer. You can see that basically I work with Java, and I work with Java since the beginning of my career. So it's some years. You guys can find me by my name, Elias Nogueira, in all possible social networks, Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, etc. I'm there. If you guys would like to know about a little bit more about quality engineering in general, I'm talking about this a lot in the social network. So you are welcome to follow me. Cool. And when we try to, not when we try, but when we talk about how to manage that data, we have a lot of problems to solve, a lot of different ones. And I'm sure that you guys are facing different ones. I will focus on three main problems that I can see commonly when I start developing tests and I need to use test data for that. So the first one is meaningful data. Most of the time when we try to debug something or system logs to fix an issue, we see something like this, address as random number of chars. and these don't say me anything. And when we are doing a troubleshooting to fix a test, to fix a bug in the application, etc., we really need to get the data that we are using to track it down and to understand a little bit more and then to fix. It's a really important part of it. The second one is no data requirement focus. I know that you guys are generating data, but sometimes we generate data just for generating data without focusing on are the requirements. And you guys know most of the time, when some aspect of the data changes, the requirement changes. So for example, age as 0. In majority of the applications, age as 0 maybe is an edge case. But imagine if it's your application, it's not showing an exception, any problem. It might be a problem. And the last one, when we try to fix a little bit more these generations, we can generate random fixed data. So all the time generating John Doe in the same email. In some applications, we can see a conflict. We can see that there is a problem because this person or this resource is already there. But for some applications, they don't have this kind of validation, which is really bad, but we can find more things. As a deep dive, I have a link in the slides, another talk that I deep dive in all those 3 problems, but I will explain this through how we can use a specific tool for that, and how is one of the best approach to overcome all those problems. So if I put all the problems together, and in this context, I'm showing you a response body, I suppose response body to the API testing, where as soon as I do, for example, a get, I receive this. And if you guys take a look at it, we cannot even read it properly. Maybe only the building number, that is okay, it's a number, it's okay. But other things like the name, the line 1, which the address line 1, address line 2, postcode, city, district, country, it's everything like really super random. And this is not right. I know that we can generate random things in this way, but this is not right. Imagine you guys debugging some issues in an API test and seeing this. It's really terrible to try to really track down super quickly. And we will basically solve this. And I will show you a lot of different features about the tool that generates this in a better way, where we can use in day-by-day activities. So how will we solve it? Basically with a tool. And after I explain the tool, I will explain how to approach basically combining some design patterns to fix it. But let's first focus on the tool. There is a lot of tools to generate data. And by the way, this previous one is a tool as well, not a proper tool for that, but it's basically Apache Commons generating a random string. Okay, there is random string, random ints, etc. So I can generate it. But using a proper tool, I can guarantee that I can better manage this data and have a full control of all the requirements. So this data faker tool, it's a fake data library on top of the JVM in Java. When we say top of JVM, we basically can run all the applications that run the JVM through a code, and Data Faker support Java, Kotlin, and Groovy. And we have those this kind of generation for different aspects, as we call it, generators or providers. So we have for names, for address, finance, business, internet, and more than 200 different ones. Most of the 200 ones are not that, I wouldn't say reliable, but they are for different purpose. But we have few ones that are really, really, really good ones. How is the generation in a nutshell? All the generation is based on a YAML file. For now, there is no AI generation behind the scenes. The maintainers for the Faker are doing some experiment with AI through some different prompts. But in a nutshell, the basic data Faker is a YAML file with a lot of different data. And this kind of data is fixed, but there's a huge amount of data there. And then there's a connection between this data in the YAML file and the provider class. The provider class is the one like going to the YAML file, getting, if I want a name, he's searching the YAML file in the correct name file for the names and retrieving you a different name all the time. Okay, and this is really good. Why this is really good? Because this is really GDPR compliant. Because compliance. Because if I try to use really real data, imagine using this in kind of production like environment or something like this, you have some troubles, right? And normally I don't want to even use real users or real credit cards or something like this to test my application. So it's really important to use this totally fake data in a good way. So the concepts of data faker are those four ones. The base providers, the transformation schemas, and then I will show you the real life usage with all those things and how you can create yours in general, because it's really important in this context. You guys will see the data generation from data faker from these two or other tools, but sometimes you guys have your own private data that you guys needs to use or must use together, and you need to find out a way to connect with a library. Most of the libraries doesn't have this approach, but Data Faker has this approach, and you can use it in a super good way. So base providers. We have base providers, and it's really easy to use. Everything when we use Data Faker, and Data Faker is a DSL, which means a domain-specific language. And when we develop domain-specific language in any kind of programming language, in this case Java, we do in a fluent way. We write some name, we press dot in our IDE, it shows a lot of options, we press dot, it shows a lot of options, so we are chaining the methods that we need to use. For example, I have faker, that is basically the main object, and I have dot name, dot full name. It will give me a full name. If I use fake address, full address, it will give me a full address. If I use finance IBA, if I use business credit card, and so on, will give me a lot of different providers. Cool. So what I will show, just watch out when when I write code for myself, when I'm just me, my computer, and my cave writing, I am super strong. When when I'm writing some code in front of some audience, even online, yeah, I'm like that dog. So yeah, I'm crying. So yeah, so you guys can, I think you guys can relate. So just to show you a little bit, and I have my IDE here, and I will just create a normal class, and I show you how we can use, in a nutshell, in any case, in any place, actually, I will just create a class, my precious, cool, I have a class, I don't want Git, and in this, I will just create a main, and everything with the data faker starts with faker, and this new instance of faker. So now what I can do, faker dots. And you guys can see that I have a lot of different things here, like ancient, animal, appliance, Australia. Someone is from Australia, right? Yeah, Australia. I use this Australia. Let's see, Australia dots. Animals. I will use two things about Australia because I know that Australia is the training one because of the breaking dance and Olympics as well. Sorry, guys. But yeah, and locations. Cool. And what I can do, not only with Australia. So as we saw before, faker dot name dot full name. Let me get the address as well. Faker dot name dot name, not name, address dot full address. It has a lot of different things, guys. For example, if I started scrolling this, I can see a lot of different ones, like even Big Bang Theory for movies, or I can have things like Woodfy, business, chess, CNPJ, CNPJ, that is something from Brazil, commerce, community, company, computer, constructions, a lot of different things. That is super nice. So I have those here, right? But in order to see what is being generated, I will just create introducing local variables in a super quickly, introduce a new local variable, I always, all the time, forget how is the shortcut for it, but it's okay. So my IDE will do this for me. Let me do this. Show me, please. String full name and string address. And what I will do, we'll show this in the console. Animals, locations, then full name, and then address. I will just put in the order. And what I will do, I will just run it, just to show you how it can generate. And as soon as I run it, I have here like animals, lunar. I don't know which animal is this, but probably something from, because it's animals from Australia, right? So who is Australian here can tell me if it's correct or not, and the location as well. Wollongong, I don't know, and I have a name here, Wylan, and I have an address. If I run it again, the data will be different. So animals, the Tasmanian devil, I remember from running to this. There's a location, cares, there's a different full name, there's a different address. If I run it again, there will be a different animals, there will be a different location, different name and address, and all the time that I run it will be a different data here. And you guys can see that is a kind of reliable and understandable data, because you guys can understand what is here, instead of that bunch of different charts there. But the funny thing is, and it's one thing super important, if you guys probably are doing localization testing, and you guys have a website with different like locations, and you guys need to have like, for example, in English and in Chinese, for example. I don't know if like there's something from China here, but I can, in this faker object, I can set a locale. Então, so I can say locale.chinese. And the animals, the locations, probably animal locations, no, because there's something really for Australia in this way, but the full name and full address will be something in Chinese. Let's run it. And yeah. So no, didn't work with the Chinese, and now I'm pressed Y. So Chinese, let me locale, right? Locale, let me get China. Run. Yeah, now that's right. So you guys can see that animals and locations really specific for Canada, it's here, but the full name and the address, it seems, I don't understand Chinese, but it seems that it's Chinese or something related, and it's different. And I can play with the locale again, changing the locale to, I don't know, Japan instead of Chinese, and then will be, is different and probably Japanese. Or there's some different ones, Canada, French, Germany, etc. So we can have different ones. Cool. This is the basic things we can do with Data Faker, and it has a lot of different providers for this, so you can play a lot. And of course, when you need to do for different languages, you need to structure a little bit more your code, creating a little bit more abstractions and architecture, but it's not that difficult. You guys can see that the basic thing is really straightforward, super simple. Cool. So, transformation schemas. What is transformation schemas? Instead of starting developing the code, I will show already existing code, but just to give you an idea how we can now transform it into a bigger thing. So transformation schemas is given in the data faker to create schemas. So let's say templates that you can describe what you should generate. And then you can, okay, I have this template. I can use this template to generate CSV files, JSON files, SQL, not files, but like outputs, SQL, YAML, XML, and even Java. Don't ask me why they have a generator for Java classes. But let's say CSV, JSON, SQL, SQL, they are really nice to have. how is the transformation schemas work? First, you have the schema, and so you can see schema string is the way you're saying, okay, the type of the objects needs to generate, and I have fields. So I have a list of fields, and I'm saying, okay, I want a field name, and you use faker.name.name with middle name, a username with the username, email with email, password with password. I can even set the length of the password, 8 to 12, that's perfect. So this is my schema. I will generate something that has a name, username, email, and password. Now, what I do have here, I have some specifics for the transformation. And for this specifics, I will show the code. So, the schemas. JSON schema first, because it's a nice one. So we do have in data figure some specific classes to use. So I'm saying that I need the transformation for that. And for that transformation, I'm generating two objects based on this retrieve composite schema. And this one is basically what I'm generating here: name, street, secondary address, postcode, and city. I'm generating this in an output, not in a file. I will show in a file a different one. But when I run this in the output, you can see that is a JSON file with two enters, two objects actually, and the name and street and everything for the JSON file. If I run it again, is a different data there. Now it's Marietta and Percy. If I run it again, is a different JSON output with Hiram and Moe. Super nice. And this is JSON, right? So I can, for example, generate this for CSV. It's a little bit different because of the CSV transformer, etc., but I will just run it for you. So you can see that it's kind of CSV, but what I'm doing additionally, I have an extra method, write a file that is creating this auto-generated CSV. That's a super easy class to create a Java file. If I look at the CSV, I can see it's a CSV file. I have everything. If I run the test again, please pay attention to the screen with all these names here. I will run it again. And I will just, yeah, it will change because it's generating the same file, but with different values, replacing basically with different values. So you can generate your JSON file, your SQL script, you can generate anything CSV file all the time with different data, but that reliable data you can use in your test for edge cases and for the main path or happy path. The other thing, just another one, we can generate the SQL scripts as well with the same logic. So I will just run it. You can see that output's a little bit different. No, I didn't run that one. I need to run the SQL. Cool, it generated an SQL. It's starting 30 users, but here in the output is a little bit difficult to see. And we do have the file as well for that. So I'll generate it. So we have here insert into users, etc., different data. If I run this again, the data is different. Now the first one is Vicky. If I generate again, you guys will see this all the time. Now the data is this name I cannot pronounce and so on. So you see that for a super easy thing, we now can even generate files with that, with reliable data. But there is one more important thing, how we can make it better in this way. And that's why I will show you how to use in the real life. By the way, what I'm doing nowadays, I'm using this approach in more than 14 teams. So they are generating data in this way that I will show to you. That's super simple. And we can really rely on the data generated. And the data is all the time random, but reliable. So in order to do it, like, let's say, in a more professional way, instead of just using like system out, print line, and etc., we are going to apply this is called test data factory. In some articles you guys can see in the internet, it's the name is object model. So we need to combine three different approaches. One is the model object, basically a class or a file, if you guys are not using Java or oriented programming language, to model the data. Then we need to use the factory pattern to generate different data scenarios or different data. And then we need to combine those two with a tool that can randomize the data and generate meaningful data. So how will you do that? First, the final solution for this, I have this user data factory. I have the faker object there that I need all the time. And you guys can see that in my method, it's called valid user. So all the time, what I'm using here, I'm building using the builder method, a name, a username, email, and password using faker to fill in with the data. I don't need to fix the data or try to concatenate with a random number. So I'm leaving this responsibility to data faker. So all the time when I use this method valid user, it will return a user object for me with all those attributes or fields filled with data. Cool. If I need to create a different aspect, a different method for my edge case scenarios, not only valid data, so password does not match with minimum requirements or etc. Look what I did. I just changed the password, and for example, my minimum requirements are at least 12 chars in the password. So what I'm doing here, I'm generating a password with between 1 and 11 chars. So it will be invalid all the time, so I can simulate this edge case. And I don't need to fix the data. I'm just using the random data, but the data that is meaningful. Remember the data with the user requirements, this is exactly like this. How I'm using this in the general way, I'm show you, and I have some minutes, that's nice. Before we can, I can show you how you can create yours, you can jump into the questions. So, how it's based. So for example, in Java, I have a class here, the first step, or where I have the name, email, username, and password fields or attributes, whatever you guys want to call. I have a normal model class or POJO class in Java that has a constructor, getters, and setters. Perfect. What is really good to use in oriented programming language is the build pattern to make it easy to create those data. So I also have a builder for that object here. It's not fully required, but it's recommended. So I have a builder that has the same things, but I can, in a fluent way, I can just press dot and I can use name, email, username, and so on. So I have my model objects. The next part is creating this class, and normally I call this all the time data factory. So the aspect I'm creating, then data factory, and you guys can see here, for example, I have the valid user. So all the time that I want a valid user, I'm generating a random name, a username, an email, and a password. And as I told you before, if I want to generate a password that is doesn't match with the requirement, I can generate. If I want to generate, let's say a different email address that shouldn't be valid. Let's see what data faker can do. Invalid email. So in this email part, what I can do, internet dot, I can see email here, right? An email address with local part. Or I can see safe email address, safe email address. I can see a lot of different methods, but few ones for the email. It's super okay. So there's nothing more about emails, but what I could do here, dot email address, local parts. Local part is basically the at and the continuation, right? So if you concatenate.com, in this way, I cannot use data faker. That's why I'm showing to you. Instead of using the email, I can just try to fake an email like elias.com. That seems like elias.com. That is not a valid email. And that's it. It's not all the time you guys need to use the tool to generate edge cases. So some edge cases you can just put here, it's totally fine. And how I can use it? You guys will see how easy it is. Going to my precious again. So let me remove my precious. So, and I don't need this one because I'm using that one. So what I will do, user data factory. And now I will click on dot. And what I can see, invalid email, valid user, and password not match with the minimum requirements. I use this one. So I need to, I will create a var user pass me. For example, let me decrease a little bit. So what this method you do, will generate a user object, or I could use only user here instead of var, it's okay. You just need to import. And I will print out this. And remember the minimum requirement, the requirement at least 12 char. And I'm saying minimum requirement, so the edge case is less, right? One of the possible edge cases actually. So I will run this. And you guys can see that the user has name Brian, email something, username something, and password has 6 chars. Cool, it's below my minimum requirements. If I run it again, and I look at the password again, now it's 55. It's really over the minimum requirement. That is a problem here, right? So I'm using the password to do 1 to 11. Let me run again because this seems a bug or something really weird. P72. Something is really weird here. Let me run again. Password. And now we have 47. This is weird. It seems that it's not using the minimum and max. I, I will park this for now. But let's say I need to run with the email part, right? I will change this to email. But remember the email one, it will have all the time the email, the wrong one that is hard coded. And for this case, it's okay and it's nice because I know that this email is the invalid one, and it's somehow controlled as well. Cool. I think I have more 10 minutes, right? So I will show to you not through the code and I will run it, but I will explain how you could extend yours. And I will explain exactly what is extending means in this way. So how you can create yours. So let's say you need to, for example, with Faker, let's create a Faker again. You have this Faker dot, and you have name, and then like the name is the main generator, so it's a provider called name. And then you can have methods, middle name, first name, last name, etc. You can have finance, and then you can have IBAN, BIC, credit card, etc. But if you would like, I don't know, you guys from aerospace, so faker.rockets, you guys need to give some different attributes from the rockets generated. So you guys don't have it in data faker, and probably it's a kind of private data, but you guys need to have this ability. How I could do this? But instead of showing about rockets, I will show you about like event names. What are the steps? You need to create a YAML file with data. Then you need to create a class, which is the provider class. and then you can create a custom faker. It's really easy to do. So I'm creating here a YAML file, and I'm listing all the Java conference, not all, but few Java conferences. So I'm starting the YAML with EN of English, because the main locator and the default locator for data faker is English. So English faker. Then I have Java conference that will be my provider. And then I'm just creating one of the generators that is names. And I'm listing here the names for Java conferences in Europe. Then what I need to do, I need to create a provider class. And this provider class will extend a specific provider from DataFaker. It's a base provider, it's an abstract provider. And I need to create a constructor on top of it for that class using the base providers and adding the local where is the YAML file is saved. And normally it's in the research folder. You guys must add this in the research folder, okay? And I'm setting this for locale English. You guys, if you guys need to set different locales, there is one more attribute in this constructor that you guys can set the locale, it can resolve for you. The second part of this provider is associating the name. So I'm saying, okay, I will have in the Java Java conferences, I will have the generator name, and the name, please resolve Java conference.names. And remember, in the YAML file, Java conference.names are the names of the conferences. The last thing I need to do before I can use it is creating my custom faker, because this Java conference is the unknown from data faker. So I need to tell data faker, okay, I have a new one, a custom one, and we can use this custom one. What I need to do, I will create a class, my custom faker, whatever, extending faker, and I will list all the providers I have. I have only one here, the Java conference, so Java conference, and I will, I'm saying here, okay, get a provider, which is Java conference class, instantiate and return itself. Then I can use it in a super nice way, and I will show directly in the code. So, custom provider. What I do have here, I have my custom faker here. I'm instantiating the custom faker. If you guys see, I'm not instantiating this faker and creating faker. Why I'm not doing this? Because my custom faker, I will show you, is already extending it. So my custom faker, as the slide, is extending faker. So I have all the other providers as well. So what I have here, Java event, please, my custom faker dot Java conference dot names, and we generate a different name per Java conference. If I run it, it runs with the JNation conference. If I run it again, it generated with JFocus conference. If I run it again, we generated with a different one, JavaLand, and so on. And I can even use var, I don't know, let's say name. That's, we already saw it. My custom faker dot, I can still use name and first name. Because remember, in my custom faker, I'm extending faker, so I can have all the providers originally from data faker as well. So it's a perfect way you guys can have both words, the custom one and all the other ones, more than 200 that I have in data faker. Cool. That's all my talk for now. I have a lot of things to say to you about this, but yeah, this is already a lot of information, and I really appreciate, and I'm waiting for a question, guys, on this. If you guys have any, let me just.
Thank you so much, Elias. We have quite a few questions. Let me bring it up on the screen. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Awesome. So this question is from Carlos. He's saying that the examples for generating test data with Faker are great. would you recommend to generate the test data only once so that tests are predictable, or is it acceptable to have different test data on every test run?
It's awesome question, Carlos. Thank you so much. You can define this based on your context. So every time you run it, you have different data. But what is the common problem and how we can solve it? It's really easy to solve. Sometimes when you are running with DataFaker, for example, or any other kind of data generator library, you would like to predict the same data that was used to continue your troubleshooting, right? So you can use a seed and you can use a random number for the seed. You will log the seed as soon as you are using it. And as soon as you log a seed, you can predict all the time. For example, in 1 minute. We do have that my precious here. My precious, cool. And let me back. I should have commented that, but yeah. Instead of writing, we do this all the time. Yay! Yeah, here. So instead of locate Japan, I was like this. So when I run this, you guys saw that it's a different data, like the Dr. Winson and so on. So it's a different name. But if I do a seed and the seed here is a random, okay? So what I can do, new random 1, 2, 3, 4, or any number that should be random, that is the seed, I will run. And it's lowering the name. If I run it again, it's still lowering because I'm seeding it. So if you have predictable data, you can choose an approach. You can generate a batch of data that you need with different seeds, trackable seeds, or you can just leave DataFaker to just generate it, and you don't care that much about the output, but at some point you can really track it down and can fix it. That's it. Thank you for your question.
Awesome. Bringing up the next question on screen. This is from Esme. How do you handle orphan test data in case of unexpected failures?
Orphan test data. I need just a little bit of explanation. What is the orphan test data for you? To
Perhaps, Esme,
reply
if
to
you're
your
there,
question.
you could probably put it in the chat, Esme, perhaps.
Yeah. Let's see. But like what I normally have, I don't have this anymore because we manage a lot the test data. But sometimes I was generating the super random things, and then it was failing. It was failing because of the data. So I say, okay, this data I should not generate like in a random way. So I need to have an approach for that. Or instead of super random way with DataFaker, I should have like a specific random way, but in a range. It's normal thing, right? For example, a voting system. In most of the countries in around the world, you cannot like vote if you're not 18 years old or 16 years old. So you can create your own set of this range, okay? 16 to like, I don't know, 100 years, something like this. So you can vote. If less than that, you cannot vote. You can even randomize this super little small data, but yeah, I don't know if it's like this or not, but a test fails in some unexpected way, leaves garbage behind. Okay, leaves garbage behind. Probably the data is already there, but it's not being removed or deleted, right? What I'm super fun if it's this way. I all the time manage the pre-post conditions. When I do the post conditions, I basically remove everything. I don't like to keep the data there. But depends on the system. Yeah, sometimes you need to have traces and leave the data there. But my approach is I remove everything.
Awesome. We'll take last question for the day. This is from Avo. How do we elevate DataFaker to godlike level?
Cool. Thank you, Arbor. I'm missing you actually. By the way, Arber was the one that was in the ABN meetup with you guys
Oh,
from LambdaTest there. Yeah, it was a
awesome.
super nice time there. To godlike level, first, the first step is trying to use that real approach that I showed. So you can really use some best practice and some design patterns to have this data generator in a super professional way. Then you can start applying whatever you want to do. For example, you play with a lot of files, for example. You can start generating the files, but instead of the way I show you, just generating the file as an output, you can have different approach for that. You can even have different schemas, for example, to generate different files. Okay, this set of file will be only valid data, this file will be only edge cases that will fail, or I have a mixed approach with like valid data and edge cases. So like the sky is the limit basically. But what I would really recommend as the first step, follow that approach of test data factory using that model objects with builder and the factory.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for the
so much,
question.
Elias. Yeah, we have quite a few questions. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to pick those up. However, if there are more questions, we'll be posting it on our community and feel free to answer it. Thank you, Elias, for
Sure.
the insightful session. I just want to take a minute to thank you for the wonderful, wonderful session and for the audience for being super supportive. I also want to remind all the attendees that all the sessions are recorded and will be available on LambdaTest YouTube channel. So you can, of course, go back and listen to them and again, share it with your peers. And you can find Elias on LinkedIn and stay in touch with him. Thank you once again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.